Hey everybody. So if this can help save a life, I'm so happy that I'm able to do this video because there are a lot of fruitarians that are on my Facebook that are in the activist world, and there are a lot of people who are trying to juice their fruits and do J juice at the same time. I'm going to give you some information so that way you can take it with you and take what you will from it. But I've been reading some of my naysayers' arguments about a lot of stuff. And what seems to escape people is that when somebody is in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, hospice, whatever, if you are drinking massive amounts of fruit juices, if you are eating fruits in a massive amount of way, and that would include people who are on candida diets. Now, chili juice is not a candida diet, just so you know. We're not staying away from fruit, but what we're doing is we're realizing and acknowledging that you do need a certain amount of sugar in your diet, but then the electrolytes and the chili juice will then offset it, so that way you're not then creating overabundance of candida or cancer. And so this article I wanted to read to you is regarding that sugar, no matter what it is, if you're not offsetting it and balancing it with electrolytes, it will feed your cancer and it will cause a lot of issues. And if you're sustaining viruses and if you're sustaining antibodies, and you have an antibody accumulation, and you're eating so much fruit with no other balancing force such as electrolytes, you are creating a Pandora's box full of issues. And so I was talking to a friend of mine today for like over an hour. I haven't talked to her in a while, and she seems to be doing pretty well relative to, what's going on in her life. But she was saying that when her brother was dying of cancer, she was doing midnight runs to go get Welch's grape juice. It seems that cancer patients seem to gravitate towards drinking a lot of fruit juice because that's what the cancer is screaming for. When you have so much fungus in your body, when you have so many parasites and fungus out of control that feeds on the sugar and heavy metals, then that's what they're going to gravitate towards. And when you are drinking so much fruit juice and you have hospice type, cancer type situation, guess what? You're feeding the cancer. You're contributing to the enemy. Okay? So this is huge. And so these are for the people who are fruitarians. These are for the people who don't understand what feeds cancer. A little bit of information, since you don't do your own research. Now, there was a Mercola article that I'm not going to post, but you can Google it, that talks about how sugar feeds cancer. Now, that's why we have this whole demonization of sugar, because people don't understand balance. So the only way they can figure out how to prevent cancer and disease and chronic illness is to paint themselves in a corner and discriminate. When you discriminate, you don't understand balance. That's what happens all over our society, is that we have discrimination against not only people, but countries and cultures and religions, but also elements in the universe. And some of these elements in the universe that are part of our biochemistry is needed, but they're being discriminated against because they're not being looked at as a whole, as an actual compound element that the body needs. And so when people compartmentalize elements that the body needs and they demonize one element, guess what? They shoot themselves in the foot. And they don't realize how much of their ignorance is being broadcasted to the world. And so then we have a balancing force called academia, called the government, that will then say, hey, hold on, let's put all your belief systems and your opinions in check, and let's look at the science behind cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and the science behind all the elements and how they correspond to the human body. So let me just read this article for those that don't do their own research, and they only look at superficial articles like the American Cancer Society, and that's all they look at. That's as far as their research goes, is the American Cancer Society. And you realize that some of these oncology clinics have diets that are full of carbs and sugar, just what a cancer patient doesn't need. You see these, these cancer cure foundations that are saying, hey, go buy this KFC or go buy this candy to support cancer research. Hello? There's a conflict here. What's going on here? You're using the things that feed cancer as a promotion to find cancer cures. It boggles a mind, but it's what goes on. So let's read this article. So this article is called, and I have it written out on top, Sugars in Diet and Risk of Cancer in the National Institute of Health -AARP Diet and Health Study. Now, a lot of people who are dying of cancer right now as we speak are in the AARP population, 50 and above. Okay, so they know that we have a lot of people 50 and above that are dealing with cancer, disease, and chronic illness, obesity, all of that. And boy, is their diet atrocious. And they are feeding their face full of sugars and sugar substitutes and processed foods, totally afraid of electrolytes. Not just salt, but electrolytes. And so there was another article I posted earlier that shows that when you have a low sodium diet, it does contribute to the risk of heart disease, okay? Because your heart is a battery and it needs to be energized. And if you're not giving it the juice that it needs, guess what? It's going to shut down. So the abstract is prospective epidemiologic data on the effects of the different types of dietary sugars on cancer incidence have been limited. In this report, we investigated the association of total sugar, sucrose, fructose, added sugars, added sucrose, and added fructose in the diet with risk of 24 malignancies. So those of you who are total fructarians, guess what? You're creating a space for malignancies. Participants, N equals 435,674 aged 50 to 71-year-olds from the NIH-AARP diet and health study were followed for 7.2 years. See, they're doing studies. The intake of individual sugars were assessed using a 124-item food frequency questionnaire. Cox proportional hazards regression were used to estimate hazard ratios and 95% confidence intervals in multivariable models adjusted for confounding factors pertinent to individual cancers. We identified 29,099 cancer cases in men and 13,355 cases in women. In gender combined analysis, added sugars were positively associated with risk of esophageal adenocarcinoma. Okay, and then there's this whole thing. Added fructose was associated with risk of small intestine cancer. And then all investigated sugars were associated with increased risk of pleural cancer. In women, all investigated sugars were inversely associated with ovarian cancer. We found no association between dietary sugars and risk of colorectal or any other major cancer. Dietary sugars, I wonder what that is. Measurement error in FFQ-reported dietary sugars may have limited our ability to obtain more conclusive findings. Statistically, significant association observed for the rare cancers are of interest and warrant further investigation. Now, I'm going to look up what dietary sugars are because I have no idea what that means. What is a dietary sugar? So interesting how dietary sugars didn't fit within that model. Sugar consumption is suspected to play. Okay, hold on. Okay, what is dietary sugar? That's what. Here we go. Example. Dietary sugar examples. My God, it's not very easy. Some of you probably already know, and you're probably gonna let me know what it is. But oh, here we go. Effects of high dietary sugar include sucrose. Okay, so sucrose, glucose. Let me see. Wow. Sugar, meat, and fat intake. Wow, it's hard to find. Different dietary sugars? Okay, I'm looking at Google Scholar. Okay, here's the 4 types of sugar. Sugar is a generic name for sweet tasting and soluble carbohydrates, many of which are used in foods. The various types of sugar are derived from different sources. Monosaccharide, oh lordy. All right, what is a dietary sugar? Sugar, okay, naturally occurring. Sugar in your diet can be naturally occurring or added. Naturally occurring sugars are found in naturally in foods such as fruit, milk. Okay, got it. And then added sugars are sugars and syrups put in foods such as, okay, so processed. Okay, I had to figure out what that meant. Okay, so so they find that, now here's the thing. Now they're basing this off of just the regular standard American diet. And of course, nobody's doing like electrolytes in any massive form. So even if you did take, excuse me, a non-dietary sugar, you can still offset that with electrolytes and strategic lactofermentation using pink Himalayan salt, cabbage, and kale. So it's interesting how people are totally like avoiding even focusing on the fact that fruit juices with a hospice patient was probably the major cause of a person's death. It seems that we are demonizing, obviously, the wrong stuff. We cannot demonize electrolytes. That's the wrong way, and that's what's going to put people on a very fast death trajectory, is when they demonize salt to such an extent to where they don't take any salt at all, and they add more fruit to their diet. And when you add so much fruit sugar to your diet when you're not balancing it with electrolytes, so not just like Pedialyte or whatever is on the market, but real true electrolytes with probiotics and water and all of that, guess what? They're creating a problem for themselves. And some of these people who are on my Facebook who are still activists pride themselves to be fruitarians. And then they do detoxes. And then they ask me, what should I do with this specific medical situation? I'm like, sorry, but you're not really in the interest of really taking care of yourself, because you're still doing the complete, I mean, they are interested in taking care of themselves, but anything that I say to them about jelly juice, they say, oh yeah, I'm doing jelly juice, but they're so into the detoxes and promoting those. They're so into the activism and demonizing the air that we breathe. They're so into doing all the fruit, and that's it. They're not talking about J juice at all. I can't help them. I can't give them any advice. I don't want to. It wouldn't even work in their world, because then they would blame me down the road, because that's what people do when they're not really truly taking care of themselves. So I'm studying this BuzzFeed article, and I'm like, holy crap. I can see why everyone is against me, because they focused on the wrong stuff. They were focusing on the fact that they were taking Bruce's words and making it sound like he was juicing jelly juice like crazy. No, he was juicing freaking pineapple juice like crazy. Oh, but they took what he said and spun it. And that's why I'm ripping apart this BuzzFeed article. That's why I'm ripping apart anyone associated with this BuzzFeed article. I'm ripping them apart too, because they purposely set me up and focused on the wrong thing. And they didn't do their research at all whatsoever. Did not do their research on what would cause a person to die from cancer. So much sugar, which is fruit juice, being on specific prescription drugs, and anything else that would be antibiotic. And you can see, if you go to Bruce Wilmot's page, you could see all of what he was going through, because it's public out there. Everybody can see it. Okay? So yeah, I'm ripping apart this BuzzFeed article, because I'm tired of being tied to somebody's death that really they were focusing only on the salts, but didn't even at all bring up the fact that, yes, he was drinking so much fruit juice. And the timeline of all of the events showed that he put himself into hospice way before he even started the J juice. He started J juice June 15th, but I talked to him back in April, and then he was gearing himself up for it, but was juicing pineapple juice. And then they found him with pineapple juice. The rabbi who saw that he was unconscious when he went into the door found him and the guy was thirsty. Of course he's thirsty. He's dying of cancer. He was drinking gulps of pineapple juice. It's right there, plain as day. It's right there. It's obvious. And then I'm getting blamed for it because people don't understand that when you have too much of one element, such as sugar, for a cancer patient, that's going to contribute, if not be the thing of why a person dies, not electrolytes. People don't die from electrolytes and they don't die from probiotics, but they would die from massive amounts of fruit juice, pineapple juice on a cancer patient. All of you that have dealt with a cancer patient in your life, what do you think they crave? They crave sweet stuff because guess what? The fungus craves sweet stuff. Okay, that's why they've been demonizing sugar for so many years, because they're trying to play the avoidance game. Let's discriminate against an element because it's feeding this instead of understanding balance. I get what's going on. I know exactly what's going on. And so then you have all the ignorant people in our society that will write articles and then capitalize on the controversy or capitalize on someone creating a rumor, and then I'm being skewered for it. And of course, last year, I wasn't going to rip apart the article last year because I didn't even want to deal with it. But now I am ripping apart all these articles. And it's like, I see what's going on. And his timeline will show you exactly. He committed himself into hospice way before he did J-Juice, on different prescription drugs, methadone, morphine, everything else is all, he posted it himself. Okay, but yet, and then he coded in the ER July 5th, 2 weeks before he died, 9 days of pure silence. So he's probably drinking massive amounts of fruit juice, not jelly juice, because that's not something you can easily go and guzzle, really, especially if you're a cancer patient. And then, wow, this article is just full of freaking bullshit. And this is like a textbook. Nita Subarim, with the help of Jeff Holiday, they definitely had a coordinated campaign to just completely try to demolish me. But I found holes in all of their research. And it will come out. It will come out. So anyways, it sucks that ignorance seems to be mainstreamed, but it does, because headlines do get sensationalized and people love to focus on somebody dying, and J-Juice is pro-life. So that's why I'm off the activism. When you are in activism, you are discriminating against somebody because of fear, intolerance, and ignorance. And so that's why I left the activist world, because now I see the shoes on the other foot. I have ignorant activists after me that have absolutely no idea about science, doesn't understand about probiotics, don't realize that you don't feed a cancer patient freaking massive amounts of fruit juice or sugar. You look at the oncology clinics and look at the diets that they have. You guys have all done research on the diets that are on these cancer patients in the oncology clinics or some of these hospitals. Hospital foods are full of processed sugars that they give to their cancer patients. They give lollipops to go and fund for cures for cancer. Lollipops. Isn't that sugar, pure ass sugar? But, you know, we're not trying to demonize sugar, but we have to understand balance. Okay? That's what it comes down to, is balance. And nobody in the cancer world is balancing these people's cancers with the right elements. It's called electrolytes. But no, you'll never hear them say that, because it would mean they have to be in pain. So what's the best way for them to figure out how to help a cancer patient? Well, either fight it with antibiotics or let them go into hospice and pass away at home. Those are the only two options for anybody in the system. Can you afford more antibiotics to take on chemotherapy or cannabis? Or if there's nothing else left, we're not going to give you electrolytes. We're not going to pump you with good stuff. No, we're going to let you either take on more antibiotics or die at home. That was Bruce Wilmot's only choice. And so he was left to his own devices, was given an opportunity with the J-Juice, but yeah, you know, it's difficult. But then he kept drinking the pineapple juice, juicing like crazy. But they took that comment out of his Facebook page and they spun it to fit the jelly juice. They spun it. Freaking clever of them. Strategic, I must say. Strategic. And why I'm not going to go after Dr. Phil is because he never focused on that. I think I brought it up. I think we're somewhere in there. I forget. I haven't watched the show fully in its fullest for a while. But Dr. Phil was smart. His lawyers are smart. Never ever associated with me with somebody's death as far as, but I think I brought it up myself. So whatever. I mean, that was then. This is now. But, you know I needed today. I was like, I was gonna, I gotta go and read this article from BuzzFeed. I really do. And I'm gonna highlight everything in there. I'm not gonna go over every aspect of it on Facebook. I'm not gonna give it any more energy as far as Facebook Live. But I wanted to make it as an example as far as just a bigger picture in this video, which is sugars in your diet, such as massive amounts of fruit juice or anything else that has sugar in it. When you are aging and you are degrading and you have stage 4, stage 1, stage 2 cancer, it is not a good idea to be taking massive amounts of fruit or fruit juice at all. That's why there is no juicing of fruit on the Jilly Juice protocol. I know somebody said that they were doing that. They were juicing their fruit on the protocol. And there's no way I'm going to be able to tell them that that's on the protocol because they don't care. People who are doing the juicing the fruit and then doing my Jilly Juice, it's undermining what could possibly be for you. And it's off the protocol. So I don't know what you expect. And if you don't get the results, you can't blame me because you went off and did your own thing. But hey, that's what people do. They want to go do their own thing because that's what they do. But yeah, I mean, with the Candida diet, when you have the Candida diet and they're avoiding the sugars and avoiding the glutens and avoiding the carbs, there's a reasoning behind that. Not that I agree with the Candida diet. No, I don't agree with the Candida diet because all you're doing is you're painting yourself in a corner. You're just playing the avoidance game. But as soon as you might feel a little bit of I don't know, some improvement because you avoided the different sugars and the glutens and you're trying to, but even the gluten-free stuff like rice, that's still sugar. Oatmeal, corn, any of the gluten-free type grains and all that, that's still sugar. Just because you avoided wheat doesn't mean anything. Okay, so so the Candida diet does kind of tell you that the sugar is the enemy to Candida, and Candida is cancer. And that's where some of these people who are self-proclaimed reporters, bloggers, who will go to the American Cancer Society, who doesn't talk about cancer as a fungus. Cancer and Candida are the same thing. They'll go and try to use that type of article because, I can't begin to tell you why the American Cancer Society doesn't talk about the Candida cancer connection. They're basically the same thing. I can't tell you why. But when you look at all the other evidences that are out there, if you're in the holistic world, and some people who are in the mainstream have never been in the holistic world, so they wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about. And that is what's fueling their campaigns, is the fact that they're working from a major amount of inexperience and ignorance. And it seems that ignorance and inexperience seems to be rule of the day. And that's unfortunate, but that's okay because we'll counter it with education. We'll counter it with the right information that you all can corroborate because you've seen it. You know that sugar feeds cancer. You know the Candida diet avoids the sugars because they don't want people taking sugar for their Candida. Okay? So, yeah, of course, Kevin, the Candida diet even tries to sell you a strong antibiotic anti-parasite cleanse. Yeah. So they're giving you, just no different than chemotherapy, they're giving you more antibiotics until one day, guess what? You can't afford to take on any more antibiotics. Your antibody acquisition will be at its limit. And then guess what? You start seeing your body break down. And that is what we're seeing everywhere in the holistic industry. Go look at Rick Simpson. That's just an example, case in point. Yeah, great, you cured cancer, but guess what? You have an antibody accumulation that's causing the aging process in you, Rick Simpson. But he wouldn't understand that, and no one's going to tell him that in his world because he surrounds himself with people who basically are yes men. Okay? And the same thing with the Santos Bonacci. Bless his heart, he's on the right idea, but him, isolating certain elements and having them attached to sodium chloride is not helping him either. Okay, it's more than just cell salts. It's more than just salt. It's a combination. It's the trifecta: cabbage, water, and salt. And then you have the probiotic, lacto-fermented cabbage, water, and salt. So lacto-fermented speaks to the probiotics. But I wanted to point this out because, yes, I am really reading upon my naysayers. I'm reading these articles. They are horrific. And these science reporters from like these prestigious colleges, just look at the recipe. When it says lacto-fermented cabbage and kale, and this is a chemical process, creates a probiotic, lactobacillus, and that is what was the whole point of the group, that this is lactobacillus, this is a probiotic, all of that. Holy crap. You'd think they would get that isn't poisonous. Oh no, Natalie Rahal, I don't know where the hell she got her degree from, but she's a degree in tabloid journalism. The same thing with the other reporters out there. Absolutely no, they say they're in the science world, but damn, they don't know shit about chemistry. They don't know crap about probiotics, because the only science that they know is stuff that I don't even know what the hell they teach at MIT. I'm actually really concerned about MIT's educational plans, because they're not turning around, anyone that's worth listening to, because they don't even know about probiotics. They want to tie me to, oh my God. So anyways, it's, it speaks, it speaks to the fact that we have ignorant reporters, but then they make money off and capitalizing off of this, but they're slandering and posting libelous content, publishing libelous content that I was never tied to anybody's death. The juice is a probiotic. They left out purposely very key pieces of information that would have changed the narrative. And they did that purposely. They did that purposely. Now you could say, duh, Jillian, but no, people believe this. And I can see when I'm watching like the Real Housewives, and yes, I do watch the Real Housewives. And yeah, I mean, one negative thing said about you in the press because someone leaked a story to a news agency, people get a perception of you and they act as if it was real. And so, yeah, the one lady on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Dorit, somebody supposedly leaked an article about how she gave her dog away to a pound that belonged to somebody else, and everyone thought that she is a dog abuser. I mean, the way the article was positioned, and then she's getting death threats from people saying, "Oh my God, you're a dog abuser, you're an animal abuser." And she's like, that was not at all. The story is this way. Someone spun a story and they created this whole perception, and now she has to deal with the fallout and the flack. And so her family's getting death threats. So I completely now can relate to the freaking Real Housewives. What the hell? If I can relate to the Real Housewives, whoa, what's going on here? Now that's surreal. That is surreal. And so then now she's crying and trying to figure out how to clear her name because of this. And then there's this whole thing with, I don't know if you guys watch it, but Lisa Vanderpump and Dorit, whatever her last name, and Kyle Richardson, the whole Paris Hilton family. And so, yeah, I do partake and indulge in all of that. I know, but hey, you got to have an outlet somewhere. You can't always be studying Candida 24/7. Though it seems like I do, because every day I go on, I talk about stuff, but it is my baby. It is my life. This is my life's work. I'm going to defend it to the very end. So, I mean, but I do like to watch my little soap opera drama, just like Jilly Juice is a soap opera drama to some of you. And believe me, I understand. I do. And if I was, some of you, I'd be watching this too, because whoa, what's Jillian going to say next? What's Jillian going to do next? What's this person going to do? What's that person going to do? Oh my God, And so I get it. But, I mean, it's just funny. But I wanted to, hey, Lori, I see ya. And I was talking to Lori today. She's awesome. Lori's awesome. And yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know that anyone that or if you guys are dealing with cancer and disease and chronic illness, just FYI, if you're going to be juicing your fruits, you're feeding your cancer. If you're going to be juicing at all as far as fruit, then you might as well do J juice. But, that's not even on the protocol. You eat your fruit whole. What I do now is I'm on maintenance status. I drink my juice. I'll have some fruit on the side if I want, but I can drink my J juice without really washing it down with a bunch of fruit. But, some people need to, because they need to have that sweet, which, okay, that's fine. But you need to have the electrolytes. You need to prime your palate to really take on salty and savory. Lori goes, I love to watch Jillian crash through every barrier crossing her path. Yeah, because, I mean, I am a pit bull, but, it's like, I've watched myself degrade in the system. I've watched people be so critical of me when I'm dealing with an illness that I can't even put my finger on, and it's not really mainstream. It's not like I had lupus or fibromyalgia or cancer. I had freaking PMDD. So people telling me that, oh, you just have PMS, deal with it. Everybody gets PMS, and then I still even have now a family that's not even talking to me. As soon as my book came out, as soon as Dr. Phil came out, as soon as all these articles came out, I have heard silence from some of my family. Silence. And that's tough, but I realize that that's the world that I chose to go into. And since, like I'm telling you guys, don't ever enter a battle that you can't win. And if you do enter a battle unarmed, then you deal with the flak and you get armed. So that's how I can say don't ever enter a battle that you can't win until you get all of your duckies in a row. And there was no way I would have known a year ago what kind of battle fronts I would be waging, what kind of wars I'd be waging at this point. So it's like every single new experience that I've dealt, I will continue to go and defend and prove everybody wrong and figure out but sometimes you can't always take on everything all at once because there's so many different things. When you have 50 million things, when you have so many hands in different cookie jars, it's impossible to give your full attention and everything into, with that one cookie jar. Sometimes you have to deal with this first and then that first, second. And I didn't have all the, the science a year ago. I didn't. So there's no way I could take anybody on in the way I can today a year ago. There was no way that everything I said today could have been said on Dr. Phil because I didn't have all the information at Dr. Phil. See, Dr. Phil caught me at the right time, and it was great for them. And it was great for me too, because it forced me to then go get more information that I needed anyways. So, it's like you balance out the good with the bad, and you learn from your mistakes, or you're going to make them, and you just keep moving forward. And you realize you're not going to change everyone's mind because people have different intentions. They have no intention of understanding you. All they want to do is just bash for whatever reason because it's the internet. It's the internet. But as long as I'm putting out very good information substantiated by the government as well as by academia and science, they could say whatever they want. But what they're doing is they're just showing more ignorance. But I have a lot of fans, a lot of stalkers that like to follow me around. And when I post something like that one with about Steve McRae and Kyle Curtis, my number one, well, not really number one, my number 5 stalker was right there. Johnny on the spot. Carolee Flack, right there back at you, girl. I didn't realize you're still around, but I guess you are. So, and hey, that's great. But Carolee Flack obviously has zero experience with chemistry as well as probiotics and didn't really study Bruce Wilmot's Facebook page to realize all the other elements that he was exposed to that contributed to his passing away. And of course, no one wants to focus on the fruit juice, that you don't feed any cancer patient massive amounts of fruit juice or pineapple juice or any kind of juicing. You never juice fruits on a cancer patient or anyone dealing with cancer disease and chronic illness. You're feeding the cancer. That should be, you'd think that's common knowledge, and I think it is. I think I have enough information out there, but the American Cancer Society and all of these different, medical establishments are not going to talk about that because look at the diets they put at the hospitals. Go look at their diet plan, okay? Look at their dietitians. Not exactly a bastion of good health. Not exactly an exemplification of what a person wants to be, okay? And you could say I'm being catty, but it's true. If you're dealing with cancer, sugar should be something that you avoid, and then you need to be putting electrolytes in your body in the right way. Probiotics, electrolytes, all of that. Okay? So, people can say, oh, then did you say before you can cure cancer with J juice? No, because J juice will not cure your cancer because J juice isn't a poison. Okay? J juice is not a cure. Cures are only for the FDA to regulate because they are poisons. They target very specific systems. So I will never, ever say J juice is ever a cure. Now I have said, okay, where my mistake was compartmentalizing and using the biotech industry terms like autism and cancer and disease and chronic illness, but really cancer is the industry term for candida. That's why you can never say I can cure cancer. But hey, look at candida. See, it's all about context and wordplay. And so you can never say I have a cancer cure. You can never say I have a cure for autism, because cure and autism is only for biotech and the FDA. Now, I'm not going to say with J juice, it's going to, I can't even say like on my advertising, J juice can reverse, because that still alludes to, you know, a specific disease. So what do you say? Reverse the aging process? Well, I could say that, but you know, even that's still something that is like patented by the industry. Age reversal creams, age this, you know, there's not many statements or not many terms that I could use to really describe J juice. So all I could say is J juice is a probiotic, and it's electrolytes, and it's not poisonous, and your body needs to regenerate. And here's the science. The science is in my book to tell you why it is. And that's why the book is, and that's why some of these articles are saying, oh yeah, her book has all these claims. It could be fined, you know, $41,000 per claim. You know, it's so funny. And I wasn't even thinking about that when I first released this book. But Lulu is a smart company, because they have lawyers looking after all of us, because they have obviously a stake in this. They don't want to see their authors go to jail or get fined. So they go through with a fine-tooth comb, and they go and make sure that nothing is going to cross any legal boundaries. And there is no claims in here. None. There's only the recipe. And then there's anything that I've said about what the OAG asked me last year when it came to those 10 questions. And so I say that possibly like chapter 22, regrowing cells, organs, and missing limbs by way of the immune system. And so I said, you already have the capability to repair and regrow damaged cells on a large scale. When you were very, very young, you grew your own human body. Even as an older adult, you have the power. As an example, during an open heart surgery, the skin was over your chest cavity is cut, and rib bones are broken to get to the heart. You have sustained severe damage to the cells of the tissue and bone. After surgery, there's healing and recovery, period, during that time. During that time, the cells reproduce to close up the body, mend your bones, and protect from infection. Your body repaired itself. There is an original design and intent of the human body free of predisposed genetic anomalies, years of toxic exposure, and damage from mutations. The normal body is meant to be complete with all parts, limbs, organs, tissue, body systems intact and well functioning. But I make no mention of J juice doing that. I just say the possibility of the human body based upon evidence that we already see today when you go home and repair yourself from surgery. Okay? So that's why this book was never fined. I'm not in jail. I'm not tied to anybody's death, because all I said is the possibility that the body can repair itself under the right conditions. And so I made inferences, yes, but I wasn't harming anybody. People are making the difference between J juice and the book, and the difference between BuzzFeed is trying to harm me. J juice is trying to help. This is a difference, you see, just by looking at both of these together. You can see who's the evil one here. It isn't J juice, it's BuzzFeed. They are the ones that are gunning for me because they need market share, and they fed and parasited off of my controversy. So yeah, whatever. I will deal with it. But I wanted to make sure you guys knew about the whole thing with the sugar, okay? And cancer, and disease, and chronic illness. And don't be juicing your fruits on J juice. Don't even do it. Just eat fruit as it is. Do the protocol. I know people can go off the diet. That's fine. People do. But don't purposely go and take a bunch of fruit and juice it. Throw away the fibers and just drink it. Don't do that. Okay? Do yourself a favor. Understand the power of J juice. Understand balance. The 3 things that keep you alive and could also kill you: candida or yeast, antibodies, and then hormones. Okay? So you guys have a great day. Thanks.